Hey guys, Keith Keller, Melbourne, Australia. We are trying a really cool experiment today. Several people that we know very well are having trouble going live on LinkedIn using Restream. Now, we're trying to work out whether the problem is with Restream or whether the problem is with uh, LinkedIn. So, if you're watching this show and you can see it, can you please let me know if you can see it, if you can take part? I'd love you to come up on stage and give us your opinion on that. Please make some comments if you want to. We're trying to get to the bottom of what this is. We're doing a live hack. We're doing a bit of a hackathon. So Zakia is having some really major problems. Please support me. Stars help to earn money to make more content. Can you please support me by sending stars? Okay, star. Is that how we do it? Zakia, she's on Facebook now. Now look at this. Zakia is on Facebook and she is actually having a lot of trouble entering the studio, but she can see the show. Now this is very, very cool. So I'm going to send that to Zakia. Are you having some trouble with Restream and LinkedIn as well, America?
So I went live earlier today without any hesitation. It was glitchy, but I'm chalking that glitch to my laptop and its capacity. I got to start moving things around. But 2 weeks ago, I ran into a similar predicament that we're encountering today, where I would hit go live. I thought I was live, and it turns out that the connection never established. So you had to hit live multiple times until I was able to visually see that I, in fact, was live on LinkedIn. So it does appear that this is happening. Well, I want to say more frequently. This is the second time that I've encountered this, but I'm wondering now if because these streaming platforms are gaining traction, are we stressing the infrastructure? Are they having a hard time? Like I'm not a techie per se, so I can't really answer it. But are we stretching someone's infrastructure? Maybe LinkedIn's, maybe Restream's.
Yeah. Well, Zakia is finally got in, but look, it was a lot of trouble. You had to pull a few teeth out, didn't you? It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was quite interesting. Can you all hear me okay? I don't even know if it has the right microphone. It does not. Hold on.
Yeah, you're definitely on your laptop, but you're not on your Rode.
I am now. How's that?
Oh, man, that's good. That is sweetness. That is sweetness. Can you hear the difference, mate? I mean, I love doing this. You were just on your laptop, and a lot of people just turn up on their laptop, and they come in and they sound like they're in a tunnel. And look, I get it. Tech is hard and it costs money, but you sound glorious. And are you running it through your Rodecaster?
Yeah.
You're running it through your Rodecaster?
Yeah, it's going through the Rodecaster Pro 2. And then I have the Rode Pod mic that's connected to that Rodecaster Pro.
We got to get one of these, America. What do you think? We'll just do a bit of a drive. We got to have a bit of a fundraiser.
It is night and day. Wow, what a difference.
Oh man, night and day. So I ran a whole show about this, and we'll have a bit of fun with it now because someone's got to go first. If there is indeed a glitch with LinkedIn, someone's got to work it out. It might be LinkedIn, it might be Restream. They've just done a big upgrade, and maybe we're the guinea pigs that have got to sort this out for them. Someone's got to go first, and we've got some ideas. What happened to you there, Zakia? You were inside the studio, but you couldn't actually see anything, or you couldn't do anything. What happened there?
Yeah, every time I attempted to connect, I would just get the circle and it would just spin and spin and spin. I even tried to send a private chat and it was just a spinning circle. So I decided to do the good old refresh where you delete all of your browsing history, close all of your tabs. I figured maybe there was something happening in, I don't know, in the cache. And so when I cleared that and tried to finally come back in, I just got a little bit of a different experience where it seemed like it would work. And luckily, it does look like it did land on my Facebook. So I guess when I initially tried to join, that was working. So not sure what happened there, but it happened.
No, but you got in at
I got in.
perseverance. I want to share this graph. This is very, very important in the context of what we're talking about. Someone's got to go first. Like, we've worked out there's a problem, and we could contact Restream or LinkedIn and wait for them to fix it. But what do we do in the meantime? Someone's got to work this out. I don't think we've worked it out yet, but we're having a go. And have you come across this graph in your history, Zakia, this idea of where we sit as innovators, or like how we embrace change? This is a very useful graph I refer to almost every day. Have you heard of this?
I heard of it on a previous stream that we did. It was the first time I saw it was on another stream that we had. But I love this adoption curve for sure. I think I typically fall under the innovator and early adopter.
You do.
I typically seem to leave things alone once the early majority embraces, like, oh man, I've already done that. What's next? Yeah. So I'm typically in those first two.
You know, there's good and bad with everything. I am what we call early majority. Like, I like it to work. I haven't got time to muck around. I'm not a fixer. I want it to work straight away, because I know that there's about 34% of people behind me saying, mate, if you work it out, I'll try it. I know where my market is. My market is the late majority. The late majority will say, look, if you're absolutely sure this is going to work, I'll try it. But you got to go first, right? And I do. But in order for me to make sure that it's got to work, someone else has got to go first, right? Someone's got to make the product. Someone's got to test the product. I come in and say, yep, it's a thing. Let's do it. And then the other people go, well, if you think it's a thing, Keith, maybe then we'll do it. And then there's the laggards, and we all know people like this. I don't care what you say, Keith, I'm not doing it, right? We all know people like this, like they're stuck in 1984. I don't care what you say, I'm not getting a smartphone.
Mhm.
Don't ask me. Just stop asking me, right? Okay, no worries. Well, it is 2025. Come on, you know. The fax machine is gone now. Black and white TV went out in 1976. I mean, how long is it going to take you to catch up? Don't ask me, Keith. I'm happy in my little 1984 life, right? We all know people like this. I'm not that person, but I know a lot of people like it. And some of them are very nice people. They just happen to be stuck in the past. But where I sit is I'm the early majority. I don't have time to muck around if it doesn't work. I don't mind trying things, but I want it to work. I'm not very patient. And early adopters have to be extremely patient, because you're thinking, well, geez, no one's done this before. Just so happens that we've all got a bit of time tonight, so we thought we'd have a go. But normally I wouldn't be in that zone. I'm a bit lazy like that. And I'm not embarrassed about that. It's just my personality. Yeah. So let's see if we've got some people on the call in the chat. What are your thoughts about the whole early adopter majority thing, Americo? Are you an early adopter, or are you an early majority? What do you do?
I am so an early adopter and early adapter. Like yourself, I like to get in early, try to muck around, make whatever mistakes need to be made, understand what needs to be understood, and then help others adopt and adapt. So it's, in fact, while you were talking with Zakia, I was sending a message to Restream, curious to learn if they have any open tickets on their end from other users reporting difficulties in logging in or going live. And the response that just came in off the press: we do not have anything open at the moment. We are not getting any reports to suggest other users are not able to go live.
Yeah. Okay.
Sounds similar to the response I got 2 weeks ago. Now, will they take my query as a ticket and just keep an eye open? I'm about to ask them.
Yeah. Well, look, do you know anything about that? This is hot off the press. We only got this information today. The show hasn't even come out yet. Do we know anything about the updates? What do you think they'll talk about in the updates next week, Zakia? Do you think that's possibly the problem?
That could be, but I doubt it. I think we've been using this for. I mean, you. I think the you know how the circle kind of illuminates to let you know who is speaking.
Mm.
But you were doing that in your shows previously, and I think maybe it's just ironing out the kinks, but I don't think it would be enough to stress it to stop. Well, I'm not a technologist either, so I'm not sure. But I feel like it's not large enough. But that looks so cool where you have like the audiogram feature going there.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking they're going to be showing what we've been kind of messing around with and just making it live for everyone to announce that you can do it this way.
Yeah. Well, when LinkedIn audio events went away, I took it upon myself to research all the different options. And I've got to be honest, I'm very, very excited by what Restream did. They came to market and said, look, we know LinkedIn audio is going away. We're going to hold your hand. Here's how to do it. Because if you've ever done LinkedIn audio events, you did them on your phone and you turned up and you pushed one button and you're in. Like, it was so simple. Everyone was calling in from the Philippines and India and Manila. And I had people from all over the world just calling in on their phone in the backyard. Right? And that created some of its own problems. But the point is, it was very easy for them to join. Now it's actually very difficult for them to join, which means you've got to be really into it. And most people are just not prepared to go that extra step. So my job is to make that really easy for them, which is why I'm pushing all the buttons and trying all this tech. And why it's very important. And this is actually a very good reason why I do this. My gut feeling is the problem might actually be with LinkedIn. And if it is, that's okay, because we're sending the file to YouTube and also Facebook. I'd be very interested to know if those files are working. Because I saw a report this week that LinkedIn users are reporting that they cannot send their files to LinkedIn using third-party sites. Not only Restream, StreamYard, Riverside, Streamlabs. It's a generic LinkedIn problem. So maybe Restream doesn't have a problem. It's LinkedIn has a problem. So is this file going to Facebook okay, Zakia?
Yep, I have it live on Facebook and YouTube. So I'm seeing my default comment that comes up whenever I go live where it says you can support me by sending stars. So that's one that's automatically programmed whenever I go live on Facebook, that message goes out.
So you know that it's working. Now,
Mhm.
this is a perfect segue into what this show's about. And I'm going to play a little bit of a funky sound now because I'm so inspired by this graphic. Hey! Sing it with me! Why not make it fun? So the question I'm going to ask today is, what is your favorite social network? What is it? Is it LinkedIn? And if it is, have you got a backup? And what's your backup? Now, if you're listening and we've got it to work, I'd love for you to comment on these for us. But let's pick up on this. What is your favorite social network? And let's have a few of them, because if LinkedIn, and this is a very, very good segue here into what's happening. If it's LinkedIn's problem and we can't send our files to LinkedIn for whatever reason, and LinkedIn's all you do, then what? You got nothing. But you send your files, Zakia, to YouTube and Facebook. How do they differ? Let's have that discussion. How do they differ?
Yeah, I have 3 very different audiences. So LinkedIn has come to know me for the tech side of what I share. YouTube was where I grew a social following to begin with, and that's where most of my soap family knows me from. And then Facebook, I have such a wide array of people that connect with me on there. And I have my personal page as well as my business pages over there on Facebook. And so it's my way of being able to send it out to everyone, no matter where they are, so that they don't have to come find me where I say that I'm planting myself, if that makes sense. Because it's very difficult to get someone to change their behavior by, oh, I'm over here on LinkedIn today, so make sure you follow me there. Meeting them where they are is fine by me as long as they're getting the content.
Yeah, this is a very, very, very clever strategy because we have a tendency to say, well, look, I love LinkedIn. That's where I am, and that's where you have to be. And if you don't come to me, well, that's just your bad luck. Well, that's pretty stupid because some people don't like LinkedIn. It just doesn't matter what you say; they just don't like it, and they're never going to use it. So, what does that mean that you actually you miss out on all those people that like LinkedIn? That don't like LinkedIn. You've got all these 3 billion people on Facebook, 2 billion people on Instagram, 1 billion people on TikTok. Does that mean they all miss out on your content? Now, this is a very, very important discussion to have because you can't do everything for everyone. So with that in mind, Zakia, which format do you choose? Do you change it up for people, or do you like 16:9, or do you like 9:16, portrait and landscape? And how do you, if you are in a few different places for a few different people, how do you chop your content up so that everyone gets the same message on the format they're in?
Oh, that's a tough one right now. And I think we're also experiencing that with this live stream. The platforms are all preferring the 9:16, right? Which is that really small portrait view. However, most of the time I'm doing a demonstration of technology where there's like a screen share or something like that. That does not come across well on that format. And so I am finding that I have to, what I would normally do for repurposing takes a lot more effort because I have to adjust where the camera is pointing so that if I'm showing something on the screen, it comes across clearly. So it's getting harder because I'm noticing that my preferred format, which is the format we're in, is the 16:9. That doesn't get the organic reach that it used to get. Whereas if I would do 9:16, and that would be a good test for one of the upcoming shows too. They seem to be preferring, even for a live stream, not just your repurposed content, that 9:16 seems to get a much larger reach when going live.
This is extremely important because an hour ago I did a live stream and zero people came. Now, that's very debilitating for me because I planned this for like 4 weeks ago. And I'm thinking, here I am sitting here by myself talking to the wall. Looks bloody brilliant, but there's no one here. Not much point in that. It's just not much point in that. So after about 10 minutes of talking to the wall and no one talking back, not even the wall, I thought, okay, well, I can't really keep going. So I just stopped it. And nobody noticed. Actually, that's not true. Americo did notice. But what do you think, Americo? Are you starting to struggle with this idea of the formatting too?
It's funny you're bringing this up, and I'm going to tag both of you in on a post that John Lacey. I don't know if either of you are following John Lacey, but he picked up on a message or a comment that I made when I joined Lanier Johnson's Linkability show, and I made reference to they too were talking about repurposing, and I mentioned 9:16, and John appears to have a solution in place or a workaround, and I'm not familiar with it, but he makes reference to using his OBS studio setup. Now, you ask me what does that mean? I have no idea. I got to look it up. But he's got some links on that post that suggests there are workarounds to optimize your content, even when it comes to repurposing. So I'm going to reach out to him, see if he can provide some insight. In fact, you know what? I'm going to step off camera. I'm going to see if he'd like to join us. He's in. I'm not sure if he's in New Zealand or if he's in Australia. So he should be up at this time.
Actually, this is the time.
America. Oh, go ahead. I was going to just say Restream has that feature. When we're going live, we get to choose the format. You just can't change it midstream. So it's that original post, like this stream that we're doing. Keith had the option to choose the 16:9 or the 9:16. It just becomes harder to repurpose later on, depending on the way your content is formatted for those short form and reel clips, because they have to be in the 9:16.
Yes.
Well, can we have a chat about this? What sites prefer 9:16, and what sites still allow and even prefer 16:9? Because we can just segment them into two, and we could sort of do two batches. So, which sites prefer and optimize 9:16? Let's start there.
All of them. Every single one of them have followed the TikTok train, unfortunately. So Instagram is 9:16, Facebook is 9:16. And when I say that, so Instagram and TikTok are the only two that require it to be in 9:16. You can get away with sending 16:9, which is landscape, to Instagram, but it's just not going to look right on the screen. Facebook and YouTube still allow you to do the landscape mode, which is the way that we have it now. But for that organic reach, what they're pushing is 9:16. So you're not going to see the same amount of people show up on your live stream when you're doing it in this format.
Okay. So there's no site that prefers landscape, even YouTube.
YouTube does. YouTube still does but I think that's, and this is a guess, so I am not giving a scientific fact here. It's just based on what I'm looking at. When you upload a video, that will get a higher reach than your live streams if they are in the 16:9 landscape format. If you're doing a live stream on YouTube, 9:16 is what they are promoting higher than what they're doing in the 16:9 realm.
This is fascinating, because the reason why it's so fascinating is there's a couple of tiers here. One is and tiers as in TEAR, I think, probably most likely tiers, because I want to know what people want. I don't really care what the algorithm wants. I want, what do people want? Like, if the algorithm wants me to do 16:9, I can do that. But will people watch it? Will they watch it? If they will watch it, I will do it. I mean, you have to adjust. Right?
Well,
But
here's the thing,
people want it.
Keith.
Yeah.
The numbers change marginally, plus minus 2 or 3% when you run a query as to how content is consumed. It's relatively a 50-50 split, give or take 1 or 2 percentage points either way. Mobile users versus desktop users. So it appears that the 9:16 is attractive and lures the mobile users, so you consume your content on the go. And when it look from an aesthetics perspective, if we're streaming live and I'm on my desktop, 9:16 is still legible if you're trying to present something to me. Where on mobile, 16:9 becomes lost in translation. You really got to squint and really got to make it an effort to be able to see what's happening on a mobile device.
And it picks up on this. I don't know if you've seen this. This is probably the coolest movie I've ever seen. It was called The Artist. I don't know if you remember this. It won the Academy Award. It was in black and white, and it was set at the time of Valentino. This is a very, very good story to tell in this context. So at the time of Valentino, who was a silent movie star, gorgeous man with a funny voice. I mean, I say gorgeous in this sort of in a ethereal way. But he was this famous person who looked magnificent, but he had a funny voice. So loosely, this is based on his story. So the movie The Artist sort of tracks the idea that, guess what, we've worked out a way to add sound to your movies. This is the Laurel and Hardy era, the Charlie Chaplin era, right? And people are going, "Oh, mate, that's never going to take off." I mean, we are so used to seeing black and white movies with the piano playing. We don't want people talking. Come on, it's 1928. We don't want people talking. Nah, I'm not doing that. Right. So the movie explores that. Well, okay, mate, you're pretty famous now, and I know you've got a big house, but the world wants you to talk. Well, I don't want to talk. And now, the reason I say that is the world wants me to go to 16:9. I don't want to. I feel it in my gut. I think, you know what? I don't want to. And I'm always conscious of this movie because I don't want to be that guy that 2 years after the trend hits, he's sitting in his house with a bottle of wine thinking, mate, I can't even afford to pay for my meals because I didn't follow the trend. I didn't run it. Right now, I want to first of all know if you've heard this story or seen this movie, but we are constantly coming across these trends that seem to come at us sometimes, and I'm feeling it very much in my gut that I don't really want to do 9:16. I don't like it, but if that's what people want, we have to adjust to them. What do you think, Zakia? Do you have this sort of visceral experience every time there's a new trend and we have to change?
Yeah, I do. And of course, while we were doing that, I went to my buddy ChatGPT to ask why are social media platforms or what format are social media platforms prioritizing? And I like the question that you posed. I don't really care what the platforms want. What do the people want? Right. And it gave me 5 reasons: mobile first consumption, higher engagement, short form video growth over time, and then the monetization and ads seem to perform better on mobile devices because they blend seamlessly into the experience. It doesn't feel like an interruption. And if we think about the social media platforms that are all free, air quotes there, they make their money through those ads. And if they can serve up more ads and get more results because it's right there within the ecosystem and it doesn't feel disruptive to the person that's watching, that would be a really good reason for why that would be that way. But yeah, I hadn't heard that story before about what you shared, but yeah, I am somebody who watches the trends, not necessarily following them, but if it makes sense for getting that distribution, I'm going to pay a little bit closer attention to it.
Yeah. Well, I remember this. I am like the original OG. Like, I mean, some of the stories I tell from times where my listeners weren't even born. Like, I'm starting to realize this. Didn't expect this to happen so quick. But I remember when videos, which was a very 80s thing, came out every Friday night. This is a very good story because this is exactly what we're experiencing right now. So when we used to go to the video shop every Friday night and get an episode of Star Trek, The Next Generation, and then Deep Space Nine, and then Voyager, and we'd get a pizza. It was a Friday night ritual, right? 1986. And I said, "Oh, honey, look, I noticed that DVDs are coming in. Better track that. Better start noticing how long it's going to take them to get rid of videos." And every week I'd like to do a count. Guess what? One rack of DVDs, 6 racks of videos, 1986. Yeah, look, I don't really want to buy a DVD player, Keith. I don't want to buy one. Okay, no worries, just telling you. 1987, 2 racks of DVDs, 4 racks of videos. And now there's this new one called Blu-ray. Yeah, okay, we're still using videos. It's the 80s. It's just Friday night. It's just relaxation. I don't want to spend my whole life buying stuff, right? And then, 1990, there's no videos, honey. We can't buy any videos anymore. I don't know when it was, 1990, 2010. It all blurs together now. But there was a moment in time when I went to the video shop. This is really funny. I went to the video shop and there was no videos. Blockbuster Video. Right? And I thought, we can't hire videos anymore for our Friday night Star Trek sessions. There's no videos anymore. Well, shit, now we've got to buy a DVD player. We've got to buy one. Right? Then Blu-ray came out. And now Netflix is there. And now, we're changing like it's forced upon us. We just wanted a Friday night pizza night. And I'm kicking back for all those people that are with me on this. I'm trying very, 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 very hard to be objective. But, I've got to be honest, I don't want to do 9:16 videos. I don't like them. That doesn't suit my style. It's not my aesthetic. Right? And are you with me on this, Americo and Bez and Zeke, or am I just some old guy that is resisting the 21st century? I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm resisting the Borg.
No, not at all. I remember the whole Blockbuster movement. My local Blockbuster turned into a children's daycare center. But the same story, the story you shared, I hadn't heard, but I read, and I was part of my corporate training, a book called "Who Moved My Cheese."
Yeah,
and it's same storyline, and same lessons in terms of change management.
yeah. I remember looking at that movie and laughing at all the, what do we call it, traditionalists, the Luddites, the Laggarts, and thinking, that's never going to happen to me. I'm such a sort of a progressive dude. And then I noticed that over time, you know what? I liked videos. I like DVDs. I don't want to buy a Blu-ray machine. I don't want to buy one. I liked 16:9. And I don't want to do content in 9:16. So to your point, Zakia, I'm not going to follow a trend because a site tells me to do it. I'm going to ask people, what do you want? And to Americo's point, the jury's out, 50-50. You know what? I love watching content on my phone. Can you serve it up to me in the 9:16 format? I'd watch it every day. All right? If you'd watch it, I'll do it. And other people say, mate, I love panoramic mode, that landscape mode. It's like watching TV. I love it. Serve it up to me like it's a movie. Good. That's what I want to do too. So, Bez, what do you think? Which format do you prefer? And it differs to the social media sites, but which format do you prefer? The 9:16 portrait mode or the 16:9 landscape mode?
You mean for what use case? Sorry.
No. What do you prefer? What's as a consumer? How do you consume content?
Both ways, but I like landscape unless I'm on my phone. Then depending, I even may move my phone landscape side the mode, but just all depends what I'm doing. But yeah, I like a bit, that landscape personally.
Yeah. And are you finding when you create content, if you've got time to, that you're struggling with the idea of should it be landscape, should it be 16:9, should it be 9:16, or do you just do what comes naturally and hope people will adjust? How do you approach content creation?
Well, I'm sensitive to the platform, right? Because it's easy to go from to do both modes in today's day and age, and plus like if you're doing IG reels or stories, you got to be sensitive to that. If you're doing something else, I mean, you can do landscape, but whatever the format, if you're doing some of these the IG reels and the stories, you definitely have to do portrait mode or vertical. So adjust, and I'm okay with that.
And are you adjusting? Are you making content in 916?
Yeah, I have. You know, I'm getting more into it. I've been making more of the written content, but you know, I'm record. So here's what's happening. As you know, you and I recorded interviewed you for a podcast, and so that is going to force me to, or not force me, but it's going to give me the opportunity to develop clips and cuts to promote, and those will probably be most likely in vertical mode, right? The promotional side. The 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 long tail stuff is definitely going to be landscape, right? So yeah.
Um, I think this is an incredibly important discussion because I will adjust if the client, the consumer, the listener wants it to. I will not simply follow a trend because LinkedIn tells me to do it. So if someone tells me that they'll watch my content in 916, I'll find a way to do it. It's not my preference. I can tell you for sure it's definitely not my preference. But I will do it if the consumer wants it. And I'm just so fascinated by this discussion because are we subject to a whole series of trends that even the consumer doesn't want it? I think this is very important, and the jury's out.
The consumer
Yeah.
doesn't want what? The landscape?
No. I'm not asking the question specifically. What I'm saying is, I need to know that the consumer wants what we're being told to do. If the consumer wants content in 916, I will do it. In the same way that if I was a movie star in 1928, I would have eventually moved towards talking movies. You probably missed that bit. We're talking about a movie called The Artist, set in 1927. And the basic story is that the studios came to this very, very famous actor who was famous for silent movies, loosely based on Rudolph Valentino, and said, mate, we're going to make a talkie. We've got the technology to make a talkie. No, I'm not doing that. Well, mate, I know you're famous, but you're not going to be famous forever. Like talkies, black and white silent movies are going away. It's 1928. Nope, not doing it. And then it flashes forward to 1932 and he's in his house and his wife's left him and he can't pay the bills and he's drunk on the floor thinking, mate, I should have adjusted. I should have adjusted. And there was another younger girl who said, look, you've been helpful for me, my mentor. Why don't you come and talk in my movie? Oh, I don't know if I want to do that. It's 1932, Rudolph. Can you just adjust, please? Oh, look, I don't want to. And this is me. I'm Rudolph. I'm thinking, you know what? I don't want to do 916. I am my own worst enemy. And that's why I watch these movies and tell these stories, because I feel this stuff very intensely. I've got very intense likes and dislikes. I'm not a sort of a middle of the range guy. I know exactly what I stand for, and it takes me a while to adjust. And it's a very good discussion to have. So the discussion we're actually having, Bez, and I love this little graphic I've created here. What is your favorite social network? So in the context of what you're doing, what's your favorite and what's working for you? What do you think, Bez? What's working for you?
LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my jam. I love it. That's where my audience is. But when I'm on LinkedIn, I do, what's appropriate for LinkedIn. But I do have Facebook, IG, and that's more for friends and family. And I'm starting to get more business-y over there because I've created some business accounts. But mainly that's for friends and family. LinkedIn is really where my jam is and where I do most of what I do.
Yeah, well, it's an important discussion because Zakia, I'm not entirely sure I'm ready to accept this. I do believe you, Zakia, but I'm not sure I am. Remember, I'm Rudolph Valentino, 1928, deciding to do a talkie in color, right? We're at a very important moment in time. Up until now, I've been doing black and white silent movies, and I'm thumping it, and I'm pretty good at it. Now, it's 1928, and the John Goodman character, he plays the director. He says you've got to do a talkie in color. I said, whoa, you know what? 2 changes: color and talking. Oh, I'm not sure I'm ready. What do you think, Zakia? Are we right that all sites are now preferencing optimizing 916? Do we have to adjust to this?
I'm going to say newspaper, radio, television, internet, right? Because that's
Brilliant.
exactly what they all did. We're doing great. We're not changing until the radio came, until television came, until the internet came, right? All of them got their lunch handed to them because they just thought they had it. Now, with the 9x16 conversation, and you said something like, we will never know what the true preferences are of our audience because the platforms are deciding for them. The way they decide what is going to be delivered and how it's delivered, the consumer is either going to adapt or they're just going to look for it elsewhere. And so I think for the social media platforms, the writing is on the wall. If you just scroll them, just scrolling with your thumb, are they showing you landscape or are they showing you 9x16? Because I could want something in the landscape format, but if the platforms don't serve it up, where am I going to get it?
I actually love this discussion. I'm quite, in a way, like my dad is 88. My dad's a bit of a groover because my dad always finds a way to hold on. Like my dad doesn't have a smartphone, and we have serious arguments about this. And recently, and I'm not sure if this is a good thing, but I admire this about him. Australia lost access to the 3G network. We're currently on 5G, but they lost access to the 3G network, and he had to buy a 4G phone, not a 5G phone, a 4G phone, which is like about $80. And he rang me. He says, "Mate, guess what? I just squeezed another 2 months out of my 3G phone. So proud! It's like he'd won the lotto. You know, he beat the system. Like he has this obstinate streak." Just in case you wonder where I'm getting it from. And he has this obstinate streak of beating a system. But remember, he's 88. And he's seen a lot of things that we can't even remember or even believe. So I've got this obstinate streak, but I've also got this wisdom that says, look, I have to adjust. And I have to get used to this. And I think you're right, Zakia, that we've even gone past the idea of what the consumer wants, because the consumer just wants what they get a lot of the time. Like I remember asking a girl I was going out with once in about 1982, "What do you like?" "Oh, I just like what's on the radio." "Yeah, but what do you like?" "I don't know. Whatever's on the radio is good enough. It seems pretty funky. You can dance to it, and I hear it 3 times. I can sing the chorus." "Yeah, but what do you like?" "I haven't decided. I just listen to the radio." A lot of people don't have the discernment to actually even ask the question. They take what they're given. I mean, am I exaggerating to make a point there, Zakia, or do you think we're right? People they take what they're fed. Is that a bit of an oversimplification?
Well, I live in the United States where we just came out of an election cycle and everybody took what they were fed. So I don't think you're too far off the mark on that one, but I don't want to turn the conversation there. But I think a vast majority will just take what they're fed. And I'm guilty of it too. Sometimes we're just doom scrolling, and whatever we get, if we're kind of interested, it may not be in the format that we want, but it's exactly what we were looking for. So it worked.
Yeah. So I think we now need to flip the conversation. And I wouldn't have ever thought of this on my own. Like, this is why I love these groups. I would never have thought of this on my own. What are the sites telling us they want us to do? Forget what people want. We've already gone way past that. What is LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook? What are they telling us they want us to do? Are they telling us they want video, audio, text? Let's bring it right out. Let's forget video. For instance, Bez, let's pick up on what you're doing. You love LinkedIn. What is LinkedIn telling you to do? What is LinkedIn rewarding you for doing?
Actually, that's a great question. There's a couple of things that seems to be important for the LinkedIn algorithm. But before I say that, to answer your question directly, they are, and this is something I'm going to get more into. They want to see vertical video because they actually have a video tab now, and they need content in there, so they're rewarding that. But to your point, to what are they rewarding? Well, the algorithm is rewarding two things. And this is what the experts say. I've been sort of watching it because every year sort of seems to change. But this year, what they're rewarding is relevancy and frequency. So LinkedIn works really hard to get, like, when you make content, they want to see that it's in your domain of expertise, and that the person who is consuming it is someone that should be or would like to see your content. So let's say I'm a headhunter, I'm a recruiter, I'm in HR, and I start talking about, how I do underwater basket weaving. Well, it's going to confuse LinkedIn algorithm, and they're like, okay, that's not relevant to Bez, so hey, we're probably not going to highlight that because that's not his domain. I mean, you may be able to hack it, but you're confusing the algorithm, right?
Okay, can I pick up on this? I want to just
Yeah,
stop you
sure.
right there. A very good friend of mine, and I don't know if you've been on his show, but if you haven't, I'm going to recommend you. He believes in a thing called social selling.
Okay.
If I tell you what I'm doing in my personal time, you are much more likely to buy my stuff. Now, I'm not sure I believe him. We're very good friends and we can agree to disagree on this point. But he shares pictures of him in South Africa on a camel. If indeed that's possible. I'm not sure if South Africa has camels. But the point is that he shares these really weird posts. And I'm thinking, why are you sharing that on LinkedIn? He wrote a whole book about this called Social Selling. And he says, Keith, if I share that I went to Tibet and I meditated in a cave, then that shows that I'm a real person and that you're more inclined to believe me than if I'm just shoving all this business stuff down your throat every day. Now, does LinkedIn appreciate this, or is it disincentivizing that, or what do you think of the idea of social selling?
Well, so social selling is a thing. I mean, because you're taking what they're doing is a lot of the CRMs, they're enriching the data with everything from your social media, so that it's getting pulled in. It's relevant. Okay, so like your friend probably isn't wrong that in most of your posts that once in a while you throw in something that makes you relatable. I don't think that's bad at all. I mean, at the end of the day, the algorithm's going to be the algorithms, but how you want to present yourself is going to be how you want to present yourself, right? And maybe there's a conflict in that, and you go do you, right? Nothing wrong with that. I'm just telling you what the LinkedIn algorithm is rewarding. And there's two things, relevancy and frequency. Maybe that's relevant to his brand, and maybe it works for him. But and he's done it a lot. And if he's doing it a lot and he's getting traction, maybe LinkedIn is rewarding him because he is prolific. So he's got the frequency quotient going on for him, right? He's always posting. Now that is something they're rewarding. If you're showing up every day, you're posting, they're rewarding that. And something that's new if you're posting a couple times a day, that's even helping with your frequency. That used to not be the LinkedIn algorithm that I knew, but it is what it is today.
Yeah. This is extremely important to me. I think for the first time ever, I'm now starting to accept and honor and maybe even lean into what the sites want. Up until this second in time, I've always thought about the consumer first. And maybe I'm not going to give that up. But I'm now starting to realize that the sites have taken control of the content we create. You can create whatever content you want. They just won't show it. They just won't optimize it. They just won't authorize it. And if I want to have this discussion, this is very, very important. Doesn't matter what I want. And that sort of bothers me a bit. But if we want our content to get out there, we have to play the game. Zakia, am I sort of going on a bit of a rant here, or do you think we're onto something?
You're on to something, and we will see. I would love for your next stream to be in the vertical format, just to see the difference in the distribution. That would be an amazing test. Same content, same format, or a different format, but the same content. How much will they send it out natively?
Oh, let's do that. In fact, I'm going on Americo's show on, I think, 9th of April. Do you want to do that in vertical?
Yeah, we can do it in vertical. Absolutely.
Let's do it in vertical just for the fun of it. Like, that's a show that you run, and you've got access to LinkedIn and Instagram. I don't use Instagram. So this is a very good test. And I think that's a very good, very, very good experiment to have. I don't want to put words in people's mouths, but I think we've now got to the point where we have to adjust to what the sites want in order to get the word out. You can do whatever you want, but the sites themselves do not have to promote this for you. America, how do we play it from here? I mean, if it's 9/16, this is one example. I mean, as an example, say July 2025, the whole world goes black and white. Just a stupid example, because that's how it feels to me, stupid. Okay, the whole world goes black and white. And if your content is in color, gets pushed to the bottom. It wouldn't take us very long to adjust, would it?
No. Remember, we've described ourselves as early adopters and adapters, and that's exactly what we'd have to do, is either get with the program or the program will just continue without us. So my difficulty is trying to balance both, because I can only stream, and I'm learning this now, Zakia, because I used to toggle between landscape and portrait in real time live, and in my studio it would change. So I was under the impression that you could do it live and on the fly, but and I did that, or I tested that for repurposing, because I knew when I was in portrait I can queue up my editing software to start chopping each time I went portrait.
Oh, wow. You can set that up as a default.
Right.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about repurposing in a minute, because I've got some really mind-blowing ideas about this that are very unconventional. I'm going to set that tone, but that's for later.
To add to Bez's point, listen, people who show up, we hear, whether it's the gurus or the top voices, people talking about, bring your authentic self, and even videos that are overproduced seem to get less traction. They want authenticity. They want people to bring their true selves with blemishes, because that's what those who are consuming content want.
Okay, so now it's flipped. The actual sites are indeed honoring what people want. People want authenticity, and what hasn't been thrust upon them.
Right. Now, is that all hearsay? I'm reading it more and more. We talk about those who are trying to monetize their personal brands, you hear so often the like, know, and trust factor. And to build that trust and having people like you got to be more than just about chatting about your product, your value proposition. You got to find balance between what you're selling, what you're servicing, to who you are and how you resonate with those you plan on transacting with.
And I think it's easier to do that when you aren't in business, right? And I'm just going to share from my own experience. When I was not a business owner, it was very easy to be my authentic self and easily blend all of those elements and show up authentically. The difficult part is when you are in business, at the end of the day, if you don't make a sale, right? It's very difficult. So it's a very interesting tightrope that you're walking when you're trying to show up in these ways that remain authentic, and you show up on a platform like LinkedIn where there is still this unwritten rule of what you should and shouldn't say while being in this authentic basket, right? And I'm not talking about religion or politics or anything like that, but I can't tell you how many times in a day I would scroll on LinkedIn and someone would say, "Why are you talking about XYZ on LinkedIn?" Well, maybe that was their authentic self that we're saying they should be, but then at the same time, oh no,
Not
don't do
that
it here.
part. Be yourself, but not that part. Well,
Exactly.
hang on. I'm a Trekkie. I'm a veggie. I'm a headbanger. Well, what part of me do you want to hear about? You want to hear about my love for Star Trek? Do you want to hear about what I'm having for dinner? Do you want to hear about how I went to this Green Day concert with 60,000 people? What part of being authentic do you want to hear about?
Well, let's take Bez's area of expertise. How often does Bez or a client of his encounter a perfect resume, the perfect candidate, because AI has allowed that person to create the perfect candidate? You then go onto their social feed or you invite them for an interview, and it's like you're talking to two completely different people. You're seeing the authentic person versus the curated person.
I love that.
Do you want to
Bez
pick up
wanted
on
to
that?
say something about that. Go ahead. Sorry.
So I do not let me forget we just said Americo, because I actually have there's studies on this, what's happening with people that sell packages to beat the AI. So don't let me forget. But I want to before I forget, the other thing about how you show up authentically, I think it depends. Okay, like, why are you on LinkedIn? What's your intention? All right. And if whatever that intention is, you should be consistent in how you know, like, to say, oh, show up as my authentic self. Like, well, like, which authentic self? The one with my homies and I go, what's up, what's up, what's up? Or the one that, is a businessman that goes, hello, sir, hello, Winston. I mean, which one are you wanting? Right? We all have where we fist bump our buddies, but would you fist bump, maybe someone who's going to give you $1 million contract? No. I mean, you're not like that with them. So, I on purpose show up with, a suit, a tie, and, I look, like a business person, right? Now, do I wear business all day long? No. I mean, I don't. But I show up on LinkedIn how I want people to perceive me, and and that how I show up is consistent with the type of business I want to attain and the type of clients I want. So I'm not going to show up with a t-shirt. You're going to see a surfboard in the back, and when my shorts and flip-flops, because that would not lend well to the type of client I'm trying to get and the type of money they're trying to spend. So I think um, I've had people tell me, Bez, you look a little stuffy. You should wear a polo, and I'm like, well, why? Oh, blah blah blah. And I say, no, that's not authentic to the client I want to get that may spend XYZ dollars with me. This is what for them it looks credible, polished, and professional. Now, on other platforms, I show up differently. You'll see my t-shirts, flip-flops, and be doing all sorts of other things. But that's not how I show up on LinkedIn, and because I'm here with a purpose. Now, any comment on that before I go on to America? What he said, because that's a really fascinating dialogue.
It's a matter there, Bez. Hold your thoughts there. There's a matter there that you've decided to turn up on LinkedIn in a very, very, very deliberate way. This is brilliant. You know, brilliant. Like, as an example, at night, I am the husband. We
Right.
have dinner. I have a cup of tea. I sit on the couch. I'm not the larrikin radio announcer from 1982. I don't play that character with my wife on the couch as we're watching TV. And when I do, she usually kicks me in the guts and says really authentically bad names to me. But she can get away with that because we've been married 35 years. So I know that I can't play that game there, even though that's authentic for me. Now, I'm not talking about sitting on the couch having a cup of tea. I'm talking about 916 and the anger that I feel for having to change all the time. The authentic self versus the curated self. Like, I want to be myself. I don't want to have to curate my persona just to get views. It's a very, very important point, and this is exactly what America was saying. So pick up on that and take it further.
Yeah, I love what you're saying because it made me laugh. Is like, one time I tried to come to the house and bring my corporate speak and like, this is how we're gonna manage this household. Okay, and I was like, well, we're gonna have feedback sessions. We're gonna do a little performance evaluation. They looked at me like I wasn't. I was like, no, that don't work here in this household. We're not doing your corporate thing here in the household. So, what you were saying made me laugh because I tried that and almost got run out of the house. So, so yeah, you show up how you show up. I mean, I think we have different personas based on what we're trying to achieve, and that's okay, because you are showing up either with intention or how you should authentically. Like, I mean, there are times when in Rome, do as the Romans, and you're not gonna, show up like how you're used to showing up because it's not wise. And I'll just leave it at that. But once we get off the subject, I'd love to go where America was going because I want to just stay on topic for now.
I'll play a little sound. And now for a change of direction with Bez.
Well, so America was talking about the AI and frame what you were saying again because I want to dovetail it nicely, but it's been a few minutes and it's just like AI. I'm hallucinating right now, so help me out.
So the reference was pertaining to how we show up as our authentic selves, and now how more and more people are leveraging AI to create and curate a perfect personas. And I used your area of expertise as the example. How many people will create a resume, a cover letter, and a profile that makes them the ideal candidate? But when invited to a conversation or an interview, it's like you're talking to a completely different person.
Ooh, that is good. Listen, folks, to what America just said, because there are studies already being done about the boomerang effect for candidates who are seeking a job. There is a boomerang effect, and it is not good. You mentioned some good things. I mean, we're celebrating AI, but on this panel, how many, and just come off mic and tell me, yeah, I've heard this. How many of you have heard people out there pitching if you buy my package, I'll teach you how to beat the ATS so you can get the interview. How many have heard that?
Yeah, it's a common story now, isn't it?
Yeah.
What about you, Zaki or America? Have you heard that?
Oh
Not
yeah.
necess- yeah, not necessarily for the ATS, but I can imagine similar to how they were selling 1,000 prompts, right? That you could use in AI, but I'm sure it's the same in the recruitment
Okay.
industry.
Well, there's a lot of career coaches out there. So Americo said, yeah, he's heard it. I hear it all the time. I'll buy my package and I'll teach you how to beat the ATS. Well, so there's studies out there that actually is happening. They are beating the ATS, but when they show up for an interview, they're not all that and a bag of chips. They're pretty weak candidates. But the AI and the consultant that sold them this package, they did their job. They helped them beat the ATS. But you can't. I mean, you can put all the lipstick on a pig, but it's still going to be a pig, right? So they show up, and I'm just using that figuratively, just out of due respect. People aren't pigs, right? But if you show up and you are when you get to the interview, you can't fool them. You got to actually perform. So they're finding out that there's a couple of things. They are not strong, and it's the when they come in for interviews with either the recruiter or the hiring manager, they're very disappointed, right? And so the boomerang effect now is that in-house corporate recruiters have posted their jobs less because they're just getting a bunch of junk, and they're already slammed with too many recs to manage, that they would rather go hunt the people they need and then present that to their hiring managers. So now we're noticing less jobs are being posted that should be posted, because they just don't want to deal with the too much data. So now they have to a recruiter has to data manage all these resumes, right? And be compliant from a legal perspective. That there is that back end thing that is a added burden to a recruiter. Besides that, so I'm still staying on this subject. That is having, now people who are searching for jobs, they won't see that job that's not posted. And there's a lot of people that apply for that think that's the only way to get a job. I'm 100% the opposite. I tell people quit applying, but a lot of people know how to. They think that's how they get jobs, so they go through that ritual and exercise. So less jobs are being posted that probably should be posted. Again, I don't care if it's posted or not. That's not how I roll. But I went and started talking to my recruiter friends that are inside corporate America, and I'm talking to friends I've known of mine that are leaders, or they're high end, principal level technical recruiters, and I talked to one that worked for a Fortune 50 company, a very large company, and he said, "Bez, oh my," when I was asking him about this, and this is not the only one. I've talked to many of my recruiter friends. He said, "Let me give you an example. That's actually is happening." He said, "I that was a great person we came across, looked great on paper. I sent them a little message and said, "Hey, um, here's a 2, 3 questions, technical screen. Just fill it out, get it back to me. I'm setting up the interview. Don't worry, we'll get that going." So he gets back the response to 2, 3 technical questions. And he said, "Oh man, this guy, this girl or guy's looking good. He's excited to interview them." He said he gets them in a meeting, and he goes, "Bez, it's horrible. They can't put 2 sentences together." And I'm like, "Really?" "Yes." He goes, "It is a waste of my time. Bez, you know what? I'm working on weekends. You don't I'm so slammed, and I'm still expected to deliver. It's just critical. Everything's critical, in these hard to fill positions." So this is I just want to, share a little bit what the studies are saying. There's a boomerang effect, and also, I'm validating that with my recruiter friends, and they're saying absolutely. AI now internal corporate recruiters have to take an extra step because they know you could not be that in a bag of chips. And I'm not even talking about the fake profiles and resumes they get. That's another thing. But I just wanted to address what America was saying, America, because that is 100% what's going out there right now. So beware, be authentic, do your resume, be
And
the person you are saying you are, so that when you show up at the interview, there's a good match and you're having a conversation that makes sense. Back to you, Keith.
I love
Keith,
it.
Keith,
Jump
if I
in,
can
man.
jump in.
Please, please, please.
All right. So bringing this back to the 69916 conversation that we started with, this is the exact thing that I'm suggesting to my clients. So when it comes to having a conversation with someone who wants to be seen, heard, and remembered, which is something that I will pitch and articulate for those who follow my content, those candidates, those job seekers who are being promised, you know what, we're going to beat the system, we're going to beat the ATS, we're going to get you offers like you've never seen before. Like I'm so against that smoke and mirror, and my value proposition is, let's focus on getting you seen, heard, and remembered. Let's go and understand the trends that Bez has just described. Now let's become an orange in a basket of apples. You don't just want to be a comparison apples to apples. And what does that mean? That means you got to show up, step away from the keyboard, and get on video. I recommend anyone that works with me, and even those who choose not to work with me, hey, this is going to cost you nothing. Show up to my live events, participate in my live events, and have my community hear how you articulate, hear your thought leadership, be seen, heard, and remembered. And that I'm not going to charge you for. Just be present, because recruiters and hiring managers are paying closer attention to how you show up, the format in which you show up, and the message that you're articulating, because it's your authentic self that's showing up. And doing it live, that if you stumble, all right, how well does this person react and get back on their feet?
And
Can I
this is
just
a
add? Oh,
very
go ahead.
you go,
Sorry.
no, you go. This is good.
Yeah.
This is very
I was
good.
just going to add, because we're talking about from the career perspective, but that's the same thing for small business owners. They're allowing AI to regurgitate this content. And then when a client shows up, they're nothing like the blog post that they've put out, or the newsletter, or the podcast that they've recorded, because it's all a script. So for all the beauty of AI, and which is why I like the repurposing of your own content, um, you can fall into that same trap as an entrepreneur or someone seeking a job.
Very good point.
They are very similar. And in fact, I was going to jump on that exact point.
See, great minds, Keith.
Great minds think alike. This idea of repurposing does scare me a bit, just based on the sheer amount of time. And AI can make it very easy, but it's not necessarily very authentic. And I'd like to just spend a little bit of time giving some people, this could be a little clip we could cut out. How do we all currently, and maybe in the future, repurpose things? I've got a couple of ideas I'm going to hold to the end, because they're very revolutionary. They're completely the opposite what I think other people will say. So, Bez, I'm going to start with you because I know you're busy, and I'll give you a very good lead in. You've got this awesome show on iHeartRadio. We recorded that interview 2 weeks ago. I'm begging you to send me the file because I want to edit it. I got time.
Will
I'm
you
begging.
edit? Will you help me out and edit it?
I
Help me
will.
out.
I will.
Okay. All right. Okay. Good.
I'm begging
Good.
you because I got
All right.
time. Wife is
Okay,
going to a
absolutely.
conference next week and I've got nothing to do. But what I'm really interested in, you're busy, you've got a podcast, you've got 3 different shows. How are you repurposing? Because I think your story will resonate with people on this call because you just don't have time to do it.
Oh man, I'm actually was looking at because I did a 10-week sprint that were coming to an end, and it ends on March 28th. But that was free. I was showing up every day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. It didn't matter, and 9 in the morning Eastern time. Um, and I'm deciding that that so anyways, that is just even doing content for that was a lift. So I'm out of this on April. In the beginning of April, I'm actually pivoting on how that group looks like. It'll only meet twice a week, and from free it will go to paid, and you know and then that's in addition to some other things I'm doing. So to your point, I'm thinking of somebody in the community who has helped me with the flyers and content, and I think I'm going to be approaching them, say, hey, let's do a barter or an exchange, or what do you think, or what can we work out? And you know, because that person has helped me in the past, and I'm going to see if they have the bandwidth. If not, probably go the route of trying to do an internship and find people that'll do things on a 3-month rotating basis. And but yeah, I'm thinking of some solutions because um, Keith, even the editing and all of these things, everything it takes time. And I'm also trying to run a business, so I need to start delegating that stuff out, and be okay that I can show up as the thought leader and focus on that than to be the technician behind the scenes. So yeah, you bring up a great point on trying to solve that solution right now, or that
It's
issue.
very, very important because there's a couple of things going on here. You and I and Zakia and Americo and Christopher, who's on the call and has a lovely voice on his Blue Yeti, we share so much content freely and from our hearts. In a way, it's almost criminal that someone doesn't do something with that. And I've got to be honest, I don't have time to, so it doesn't get done. But I'm gonna pioneer several ideas around how to create content from this content we're already creating. Like, I am my authentic self. I'm an Aussie who lives in Melbourne with a radio station in the back of his house. That's it. That's who I am. I'm not pretending to be anyone else. And you can hear that it's me. I'm talking. I'm not pretending to be anyone else. And all my content reflects that, but it takes time to make. What do you do, Zakia? We've had this discussion many times, and you've got several AppSumo products for this. But can you tell us how you do it? Because I think a lot of people will benefit from your wisdom in this area.
Sure. I always leverage 3 primary AI tools. One of them is Minvo Pro. I always start with whatever the source is, whether that's a live video, a podcast, or a blog. So I am the source of that content, or an interview that I was a part of is a source for that content. So I'm not dependent on ChatGPT to generate other content. And then the tools that I'm using, one of them I mentioned is Minvo Pro, but another one is VideoTap. And what that does is it will take the video that I feed it, and of course, it will create the shorts that can be used, but it'll also create a blog post. It'll create a LinkedIn newsletter, but it's all in my voice and my style. So that's the primary tool that I use for repurposing.
And your voice, you mean in your written voice?
In my written voice, and it's taking from the content that I fed it. It's not going out into large language model land and trying to come up with facts. It's based on what I've given it.
This is good. Christopher, if you want to join, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts because you've got a lovely resonant voice. But look, the idea of repurposing content is a pain point for us because there's only 24 hours in the day, and I do like to sleep sometimes, and I quite like watching TV, and I like having dinner with my wife, and I sometimes like to move my body, and all of those things seem to get in the way when you're sitting down trying to edit things. So, Americo, how are you planning to do your repurposing? It's a very major pain point a lot of us are asking about at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been leaning into Clipchamp, and it is time consuming. Let's not kid ourselves. And in fact, that's probably where this whole aspect ratio conversation started from, because I'd be chopping up 16:9 video content or audio content, and it looks horrible and atrocious when I try to repurpose it and squeeze it into my IG business account. It just aesthetically looks horrible. So it is a little bit of a nightmare. I'm going to look into VideoTap. I like how the repurposing has some breadth, and it helps with newsletters, blogs, and everything else. That's brilliant. If I can
Keith,
have
if you like, I could share a tab. I know this is audio only, but I could actually share what it looks like when you
No,
use a
please
tool
do.
like
Yeah, please.
VideoTap.
We got plenty of room. We got room for 10 guests or 10 tabs. So one tab wouldn't hurt. That'll be good.
Okay.
So there's your screen.
Right.
And
So you upload your video, and it takes a matter of depending on how long the video is. This was a 47-minute video. From that, it automatically generated 5 clips. The other tool, if you don't want to use VideoTap, is Minvo Pro. That one's a little more useful, but it will pull clips that it thinks is most viral based on whatever AI tool it's using in the background. But it tells you what that is. And if I just click play here.
Well, I am here to tell you from somebody who has
Can you
been
all hear
live
that?
streaming since 2015. 2022, 2023, we were a little late to the game. We stopped doing it because we started working a little bit too much.
So I'm not going to play the whole clip. But if I don't like that, like I don't like that black over the words, it's kind of messing it up. I can quickly change what that clip looks like. So if I wanted the captions to be more karaoke style, I could do that as well. I can even change it from that 16:9 to a vertical format. And then I can pan so that it's right there where it needs to be. And then I can render that particular clip.
yeah. Yep.
Additionally, it gives me a blog post, and that's 816 words.
Whoa.
well.
Wow.
And then what you can do is you can actually grab screenshots from within the video to be a part of your blog post. And it'll
let me pick up on why this is really important. That we've just had a miracle hack, in a way, a miracle cure for our pain. What I've noticed, and Zakia does this very well, I've noticed that sometimes, seemingly magically, while the show is going, someone is writing this blog post, and I'm thinking, bloody hell, that was quick. You're on the call. I mean, you're on the call. How are you doing that? So Zakia and Amolia and even Americo have been on the call, and like as soon as I finish, there's like this really lovely blog post comes out on LinkedIn. Now that is 800 words that takes the content from the video, right? Now you
Correct.
scour it and you look at it and you go, actually, I didn't say that. This is what I meant to say, and you'd sort of slightly adjust it, but the essence is there, isn't it?
Exactly.
So you're getting a video and you're getting the written words. This is very cool because this is going to tap into what I'm going to say next.
And it gives you a podcast script. So if I wanted to go and record a podcast, that's a little bit different from the live stream. And it also creates it creates the podcast show notes if this was just a podcast.
Yeah. Well, let's
Yeah,
bring
so
Christopher in. What do you use, mate? Have you been struggling with the idea of repurposing? What do you think? What do you do? How do you do it? I got you there, Christopher.
Greetings. Well, I use Descript to
Descript.
gather and repurpose recorded stuff. So Descript lets me edit like it is just text. Yeah, so their tagline is, if you can edit in a word processor document, you can edit with Descript.
Tell us
And
about this. I've heard a lot about it, but for those that have never heard of it, why is that a good thing to turn everything into text? Does that just make it a lot easier?
it does make it easier to see where you're making the edits. And with the latest versions, it uses AI to keep eye contact. So if, for instance, you are not necessarily looking directly into the camera, it can adjust that as best it can with AI. So you load the video or audio into Descript, and it will allow you to update, make changes, correct. So if it gets a name or word wrong, you can make those corrections and then produce clips, much like you can with the product that Zakio is showing, where you can create it in 16 by 9 or 9 by 16, as well as square, and share that to the various platforms that you need to.
So we've been chatting about the incessant changes that we as creators have to adjust to because the sites and all people listening want these changes. So there's obviously tech now that are ahead of us to say, look, we know you don't have time to do this. We've worked it out. And for a small monthly fee, we'll do it for you. So Descript and these other sites, VideoTap, are really ahead of the game there. And they're making it a lot easier to do, aren't they? I've heard a lot about Descript or Descript. Yeah.
I like it. I first started using it when I was making audiograms for other people. So an audiogram, you have probably a static image, captions, a waveform for the sound, and you can change the image that is static. So I was doing that for other people, but now I use Descript on a regular basis to add captions, because you should always add captions to video and make it more accessible, as well as a waveform or other items. And then, with Descript allowing you to save it for whatever format you need. And it also it can create clips from that if you give it keywords, and it can make podcast show notes or suggestions.
My brain is. I'm so excited. My brain is spinning here because this all fits perfectly with where I'm going with this. But I just love this. I just love this. Now, what I'm going to say is I'm going to throw a bit of a sort of a spanner in the works or some fly in the ointment. I've worked out recently that when I do these really, really cool shows, people on the show make content for me. I'm so excited. When here I am doing this show, and before the show's finished, I'm actually doing. They've actually done the content, and I've got a piece of content coming out that they wrote on my behalf because they were on my show and they thought that was like a fair exchange. Now, why that's important to me is that I can have 10 guests on the show. And we talked about this a lot yesterday, and we're also going to talk about it on Americo's show in a few weeks, which will be in 9/16. I get a lot of requests for people to come on my show, and all they talk about is what they're going to talk about. They never talk about what they're going to do afterwards, right? And I think, to be honest, the most important thing that you can do for your host is create content for them, because we know as everyone has said here, we are struggling to take the time from the content we've created and create additional content. So the number one strategy that I'm actually going to recommend now, the number one strategy, is user-generated content. I want other people to come on my show, and they're very welcome to come on my show, and we have fun, and there's no obligation. But you can just imagine the people that actually do create content, they get extra. They get invited back. I chase them. Right. And Zakia, pick up on this because you've done this. Zakia in America, you've both done this for me. So, of course, I'm going to give you more time. I'm going to give you more airtime, aren't I? You want to pick up on this, how this happens, Zakia? Because it's a pretty interesting idea, isn't it?
Yeah, for me, there's always the win-win, but I think there's a win-win-win whenever you do something like that. And I saw what you were doing as pretty unique. For one thing, I needed content. I was on the show. It was a great conversation. So being able to, number one, use AI because it doesn't take a lot of time to generate that, but then also to show some appreciation for it. And it also gave me the content that I needed, and I could tag you in the post about what my experience was, and they could go and watch the long form video as well. So I just thought it was a win-win-win. It was the TLDR, and if you are in the lifetime deal world, you know that means too long didn't read. But in our case, that means too long didn't watch with a W instead of an R. So if the video is too long, because we go pretty long on your streams, Keith, these aren't 30-minute in and out kind of things. We're here for quite some time. So again, people's preferences. If I can give you the tidbits and the nuggets to entice you enough to go back and listen to it, great. Otherwise, you still got the important part of the conversation in terms of those high level, what was discussed.
So that's the first thing. And these things, this is why I was so excited to see that it creates the transcript, because I just couldn't work out how you were typing that so fast. Right? I just thought that was so cool. But why this is very important to me, extremely important to me, is that if I take that transcript, and this is what I'm going to do for anyone whose show I go on, including Bez, because I've already done it for Bez, is I use Google Notebook. This is a bit of I want you to sit down now. If you're listening to this show, I want you to take note, stop what you're doing, don't multitask, listen right now. This is really important, just in case I haven't set that tone. And now something really magical is going to happen. I discovered, I didn't discover it, someone sent it to me, the power of Google Notebook. Now, this is an astonishing hack. Google Notebook can take a PDF and turn it into a breakfast-style radio show that goes 5 minutes, where a guy and a girl listening in this American radio-style format talk about you in a very affectionate way. Hey, I just came across this really cool interview with Keith Keller. He's such a dude. You know, he's from Australia. He's such a winner. Now, I can't say that. I can't say, hey, guess what? My name's Keith Keller. I'm from Australia. I'm such a winner. I can't say that about myself, not in Australian culture. But if someone else says it about me, then I'm pretty happy. And I think we've got this sort of this repurposing loop going on here. You don't have to do all the repurposing. Now, once I realized that, this was a tremendous burden off my mind. And what do you think, Zakia? I think this is a bit of a power hack.
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant. We hear the term user generated content, but with the tools that we have now, what that used to mean was people would send you a testimonial about an experience that they had, but they are actually generating content. It's meta upon meta upon meta, if you look at it that way. So it's a different spin on it, but you have, if you can have up to 10 people on this audio event, That's 10 possible pieces of content, and they're going to have their own spin on it. They're all going to have their own spin on it. So that's just amazing. And it's going to extend it far beyond what you individually could have done.
And why this is important, there's and I want to throw to Bez on this. We're all trying to make our mark, if you like. I want to share this really cool story that happened today. At 10 o'clock my time, I went live and there was no one listening. 0 people. There wasn't anyone in the room and there wasn't anyone listening. Now, I can't see the point of that, right? I can't see the point of that. I tried to hang on for about 15 minutes and I ended up deleting it, so you'll never see this. But, I just tried my guts out to talk at the wall for 15 minutes. It was really hard, right? So I want to use all the tools at my disposal to know that when my shows go live,
Did we lose our host?
I think
Yes,
so.
we lost him. So who would like to dance the jig?
Americo, you did a great article with one of those. Can you talk about your experience and why you did that and how
Yes,
you yeah.
certainly. I was just amazed with both yourself and Amalia how quickly you repurposed Keith's show and the opportunity to guest speak, and I felt, you know what, there's an opportunity here for me to improve my audience experience, and at the same time not have to scratch my head and claw at finding content ideas when they're just staring me in the face. And that's exactly what I did. So I wrote an article, and it's kind of setting the stage for the conversation that I'm inviting Keith to: preparation and best practices and etiquette around preparing live streams and repurposing those live streams. And I touch on the pre-show, live show, and post-show etiquette, and I think that's important. It was brought up as part of our conversation. I felt compelled to share that with my community, and we're going to host a show and talk about that exact thing. So now one conversation has morphed into an article that will then circle back and be the topic of conversation at my live event, and I'm sure we'll have multiple conversations or multiple pieces of content that will arise as a result of that one show that, or was it earlier this week, that Keith hosted. So it's amazing the opportunities that we create for ourselves.
yeah.
And to answer Keith's question in terms of a little bit of reciprocity, we owe it to each other, and I learned maybe over a year ago the importance of, and I know I was late to this party, but the importance of your second and third degree connections. A year ago, I had set my goal by the end of 2024. I wanted to have about 1 million second degree connections. And I hit that milestone, and we're only 3 months into 2025 and leveraging, and I'm going to chalk this up to live streaming and how much reach or improved reach my content and my audible voice and I'm going to say my on-camera presence has played into this, because I get good engagement at my events. I am now over 3 million second degree connections. So
How did you find that out? Where's that stat? I've never heard this story before.
So if you go into your search bar on LinkedIn and just wipe it out, leave it blank, and click search, you then are given the option to filter first and second and third degree connections.
Oh yeah. 1,110,000. Actually, I'm not going to say that, but you said that you get this really big number, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're trying to monetize your personal brand, your business, your product, that's who you're targeting. Your first degree connections are the ones who are going to put you on that pedestal. And if you reciprocate and offer in return for time and exchange for more content, it's going to get pushed to that larger community. And it's only going to do yourself a favor by elevating and amplifying our voices. So
Yeah.
kudos to you, Keith. Thanks for opening my eyes to that. I believe I can leverage and do a better job at repurposing even these conversations that we're having. And it doesn't necessarily, for me, and this is my opinion, it doesn't necessarily need to be a piece of content that we need to write in exchange. It could be just tagging someone in. Hey,
I'll give you a really good
I'll tag
example.
some.
I want to give you a really
Yeah,
good
go
example. So I'm in Melbourne, Australia. My number one skill and joy is that I just love hanging out with people and connecting them. Now, last week, you had a conversation with my friend Tim in London, England, not London, Ontario, which you could probably drive to in your car. And that wouldn't have happened if some random Aussie on the other side of the world didn't know this random Brit in London. And I just thought, well, hang on, I thought that would be a pretty cool conversation. Tell us about how that felt and how we can do this for each other. Like Tim is a dude, he's got his own YouTube show and he's looking for people. And you went on his show. It's so cool, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it baffles me positively, but it baffles me that I'll wake up one morning and I'll find my name referenced or tagged anywhere. I can be in South Africa one morning when I wake up, or I can be in the UK, and that just tells me that the message is resonating, that the advice works. And I wasn't a believer until not too long ago, and I say within a year plus or minus a month or two, about the sense of community and the sense of giving and how it pays you back tenfold on LinkedIn.
Do you want to pick up on this, Christopher? Do you find yourself getting random offers from people I don't even know, and offers coming over the phone? I'm sure no one even knows what I'm singing there. Rhinestone Cowboy, Glenn Campbell, 1974. Where did that come from? So, Christopher, do you find yourself getting random offers and all sorts of sort of networking goodies from just good works? Tell us how you do it.
I do, but hey, let's pause for a second. Glenn Campbell, well, that's just one of my karaoke go-tos.
Yeah, so Rhinestone Cowboy, right? I've sung.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, I usually, for karaoke, it's usually Wichita Lineman.
Okay, yep.
All right. But unsolicited, unwarranted, unwelcome offers, yes, they do flood the inbox. And my regular response is just delete and continue. If they persist, then it's block and continue.
Okay, so it's now got to an almost toxic level for you.
Yeah. No one wants to be, and I appreciate the term, pitch slapped. So as soon as you make a connection, there's the pitch, blatant and unwelcome, unwarranted. Hey, here's what I can do for you. Or sometimes even without the connection, people send in-mails of not exactly, generically how they think they can help.
Yeah. I remember I was on a call with a LinkedIn person who was at that time my friend.
Keith, I think we might have lost you for a second.
think we lost him again.
Well, keep on.
All right, we'll keep on keeping on. So, Christopher, I might suggest that if I ever got to a point where I was churning away speaking gigs or guest speaking gigs, that'd be a good problem to have. And yes, there's the risk that we run of getting pitch slapped. Hey, I helped you. I put you on my show. Now here's what I can do, or here's what I need you to do for me in return. That is, I guess, a risk some of us are still able to take or schedule into our events or into our calendars. But I totally get where you're coming from. You reach a point where you got to draw the line somewhere.
Well, absolutely. And it's one thing to, hey, here's how I think I can help you. Are you open to this? Would you welcome some insight into this area? As opposed to, hey, I can take you from here to there. Well, all right, you don't know me, you don't know my business. Let's just pump the brakes on that, slow down, perhaps have a conversation. But just starting out of the gate with the cold, the very cold, hard sell. No, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I always welcome with open arms the warm pitch. Like if I'm being introduced to someone from someone I already know, I'm all for it. Hey, let's have that conversation. Right? Let me have that conversation.
Exactly.
But,
a
if
warm
someone
pitch.
who,
Always
if someone who doesn't know me didn't spend an iota of time to visit my profile and says, "Hey, I'd love to have you on my show." There's definitely a motive that is leaning favorable for them more than it is for us.
Exactly. Now, see, here's the point in the conversation where we have to behave because the adult in the room, Keith, has returned.
Yeah. We have the 88th worst internet in the world. We are behind every African nation, every European nation, every third world nation. I don't think there's any country in the world that I can pronounce that has worse internet than us. I'm really embarrassed about this, but anyway, I am where I am, a long way away, making the best of it. Not a bad shot there with me filling the frame with the side. I'll take this screenshot. But what I love about what we're doing here is that we're playing around with it. We realize that no man is an island. No person is unto themselves. So if we can help each other, someone picked up on that little glitch there and carried on. We're still going. We're all mates now, and we look out for each other. So I'm a bit worried, Christopher, that you're getting too many unsolicited emails. What type of offers would you like to get?
Well, for me, a welcome type of offer would be, hey, we're looking for a speaker about technology and storytelling. Are you available? Or, hey, we have a virtual event and we'd like either you to run this or you to give us strategies so that we can run this successfully. Great. Let's have a conversation. What I'm pitched mostly without insight or information. Hey, would you like to grow your YouTube to 1 million views overnight? No, thank you. That does not sound like organic growth that is meaningful, sustainable, or actionable.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's a hack to filter out the spam, but what I have noticed is that we're getting noticed more, and because of that, there will be some good players, and we've got to look after it. Everyone gets spam now. Would you like to buy my solar product? I can save you $20 a day on electricity by just putting a gadget on your roof. Right? Okay. No thanks. But we're all getting those. But what I'd love to know is how we can help each other get the good ones. Yeah. So why don't we run the room on that and just set the intention? What would you like us to look out for you? And I'll go ladies first, actually. Zakia, best case scenario, if I'm scouring my emails and internet and I come across a perfect opportunity, what would you like me to look out for you?
Sure. So anything that has to do with new businesses that are attempting to figure out how to grow online, whether that be with e-commerce, online stores, or digital marketing, that is my specialty. So if you know of people that are in search of those things or speakers that can share their entrepreneurial story, I think I have a really inspiring one that I love to share. So that would be great ones for me to talk about.
You are the e-commerce queen, aren't you? You just know so much about this topic. It's a fascinating topic, but a lot of people don't know how to do it. And you do.
Yeah.
So
10
all right.
years experience now with it. So, yep.
So we've heard the words e-commerce queen. I really want to do this. I just want this show to be about that. And almost like a reverse pitch show. Like I'm just one guy, but I'm talking to people all the time. And people need people. People need guests, people need expertise, and people just ask me all these random questions. I'd like to know that I've got a resource that I can send them to. So that's very, very cool. Very, very cool. What about you, Bez? If you had in the ideal world, what would you like me to look out for you for? What would you like to be known for, and what do you want me to look out for you as?
Well, thank you. Thank you. So I am a headhunter and I do recruiting in healthcare and tech. Started in tech, but most of my book of business right now is in healthcare, but I still stay relevant because I believe you have to, because everything is tied into so much, even in healthcare technology. So if you have clients that need to hire somebody that is going to make an impact in the business, then they need to take a look at what I can provide for them in finding them the right person at the right time for the right job. And that's the job they have, and I can go find that hard to find candidate for them. So that would be the first thing, because that's my major source of income. I've also recently started a career coaching program. I'm quite controversial because I tell people quit applying, and people look at me like I have three heads. But in 30 years, I've never gotten a job by applying. So if you want to learn the things that will make a difference and is the blocking and tackling that nobody wants to do, but I'll make you do, because I'll be your drill sergeant, your coach, your mentor, your supporter, your whatever. Then, hey, if you're looking for somebody like that, reach out to me. I'm just finishing up a 10-week career sprint that was free. I'll be launching a program starting in April that most people will be able to join, but it is a small investment, unlike my group coaching mastermind, which is quite the investment. So yeah, if people are looking to in specifically leaders and executives, that's really my target when it comes to the career coaching. Thank you.
No, I love what you're saying here, because you mentioned the ATS. People are starting to know, you know what? I'm not even advertising jobs anymore. It's just too bloody hard. Like, I mean, I just get all this rubbish. So you have a very unique skill, and that is that, look, I'll find you that person. That's what I do. So your ideal client is the person that has a need but can't find the people. You serve a very valuable function in society, right? Very valuable. And you should be rewarded for that, because it's a bloody hard job. So I'm going to look out for that, and everyone on the call will do the same, and the people in the replay. What about you, Americo? What if you had one thing you wanted us to focus on for you? What would that be?
So I would say customer journey refinement, and just any business owner or independently working professional struggling to quote sell and retain clients. There there's a strategy and there's an expense associated. And with me, it's really about refinement, is about taking what you have and tweaking it. Not everything needs to be a huge rebuild or a huge investment. All we got to do is look at what ailments are rubbing customers the wrong way and change and tweak things, modify them. So anything that has to do with sales, service, along those lines, that's my wheelhouse. Personal branding, I'll throw in there as well. And I know you said one word, but listen, before I give up the mic, each of our guests here have an opportunity, and I've already earmarked. I'm just looking at your avatars or your thumbnails, and I have a place in an audience for each of you to guest speak at one of my live events. And Zakia, we just did a couple of weeks ago an e-commerce conversation, and I'd love to circle back and bring you on board. Christopher, I do a show, The Storytelling Journey, and I co-host it with Jay Pasqua. And Bez, you, my friend, have a place in one of two events. I collaborate with two colleagues, one in Nevada and one in now it skips my mind, but two U.S. colleagues who were part of this recent Doge movement. They're federal or former federal employees, and they see a huge opportunity to help their fellow colleagues get back into the workplace. And we're trying to put something together to help those who have lost their jobs or the entire open to work community. I'd love to either bring you on to LinkedIn literacy or bring you on to one of our group events and help you out.
Absolutely, be happy to help anyway. I've told people about that career sprint, but I am ending it next week. But and that was a to help folks, and yeah, no, I'm all game. Let me know how I can help. I think it's a great time to pay it forward. Thank you.
Don't you just love what we're doing here? We're not really even talking about ourselves. We're talking about how we can help everyone else. We can have up to 10 people in these calls, which is why I love doing them, because people are meeting each other I've never met before. And my absolute favorite thing in the world is what I call the Keithy. I've got a couple of ideas going on. There's a career coach in Toronto, as we call it, for you, Americo. Now, she's a career coach, so she's in this zone, and she lives in your town. So it's not inconceivable that you could meet her. It's also not inconceivable that you may never have met her had someone not have introduced you, because it's a big town, 5 million people. You could probably walk past. You're not going to St. Lawrence Market and going, hey, by the way, are you a career coach? Would you like to come on my show? No one's having those conversations, right? You just don't bump into someone randomly and ask them to come on your show. There's got to be some context. So I found this really cool person in Toronto that could be a good guest on your show. And if we can, look after each other, we will create miracles here. We are just creating miracles. I'm very proud of this format, this movement, if you like.
Well, Keith, before you skedaddle beyond that, can you share what we can be on the lookout on your behalf for?
Yeah. So I was on Bez's show last week. Bez's show is going to be on iHeartRadio. He interviewed me in audio format about my career, my journey from 1982, right, as a young person on the radio. And I've decided this year then I'm going to do more of those. I'm going to do more audio interviews because I love editing. I use Audacity. I love it. It's my little passion project. I do it in my spare time, if that indeed is a real word. And so what I would love you to do is if you know someone who has a podcast in audio and they want a guest, I would be very happy and joyful to go on their show. Right? And we know what we talk about. I talk about tech. I talk about audio. I talk about gadgets. So if you know anyone that's got a show that would love to have a guest talking about the Rodecaster Pro 2 or the Samsung 2QU or editing or all of this new stuff, then I'm just planting that in your brain. And guess what's going to happen tomorrow? You're going to go to this barbecue and you're going to run into this person at the bar and you're going to say, hey, I can't get a guest for next Thursday. You know anyone? This is how it happens. This is actually how it happens. You bump into someone and so please, I want you to keep your ear out for someone who's got a podcast that needs a guest. And I reckon one a month would be enough, but I'd be happy to do one a week because I got a little bit of bandwidth, and I just love doing them. Is that a reasonable ask, Zakia? What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
You going to any barbecues today? Let's see how long it takes you. I just love this. Like I woke up this morning, I thought, do I really want to be doing ... anymore? And then Zakia sent me this link to say there's a brand new update for Restream. Let's do a show about it. And I thought, well, that's really bizarre because on April 9th, I've got this little hole in my calendar that I was looking to fill, and the universe just fills it in. Bloody brilliant. You just put it out there and it comes back to you, doesn't it? It's almost like magic. It's almost like magic, but it's not magic. It's us being intentional, isn't it?
Keith, I'm glad Zakia asked that question. I have somebody I want to introduce you to, and I want to talk to you. Yeah, we need to talk. Let me know when we can talk because it has to do with audio, and then also in regards to equipment that you'd like to mess around with. I think I may have a win-win for you. So let's talk maybe after the show and let me know. Okay.
Now, how much of that did he hear before he got cut off?
Oh, did he get booted? Oh man. Keith, can you hear me?
That is the worst possible scenario. Someone talking about me and I'll lose the signal. I can't stand it. I can't stand that someone was talking about me and probably saying something good and I missed it.
Well, actually, I had the winning lotto ticket. I was wanting to give it to you. No, what I had said real quick is that I want to talk to you maybe after the show, if possible. Want to talk to you about audio, and I want to also introduce you to somebody that may be a way for you to get some tech equipment that you like to play around with, audio stuff. So he has relationships, and now that Zakia asked and you defined what you're looking for, I think there's someone I can introduce you to. So let me know if you can talk. You know how we can go into a room and talk.
No, we'll just when we finish, just stay on the line.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, stay on the line. Sure. And look, I'm going to do this every time now. I just love how we benefit so much by helping each other. I mean, I know it's obvious. Anyone who does it knows it, but it's almost criminal that we actually have to say it. But I'm just going to be that guy. I'm just going to be that guy that introduces people to other people because I know the universe will look after me. I've got a beautiful wife. I've paid off the house. There's food in my belly. The bills get paid. I've got no worries. Things happen now. I've done the work. I've been working since 1982. I mean, things just happen now. The universe is providing. And I want to just have that trust. I want to just make sure that we're all okay. I'm a bit of a lefty, right? I'm a bit of a lefty. I just want everyone to be happy. And my job is to sort of smooth that out. So if you know someone who has a podcast, if you know someone who wants to send me a Rodecaster Duo, I'd be happy to have it. That's the other goal I want. I just love tech. I want someone to send me the latest Shure SM7B and say, mate, can you just do an audio unboxing? Let me just play this out before we end the show. I coined this phrase, audio unboxing. I invented this phrase. This is my idea. So I can imagine sometime in the next 6 to 12 months that a package, I'm going to put it out there, the law of attraction, that a package arrives at my door to say, mate, here's a new mic. Can you unbox that? Put it together and feature it on the show. And, you can keep it or give it away or send it back, whatever you want. But, mate, you're such a dude. I want you to do this. And here's a Rodecaster Duo that we're also going to feature for you. Why don't we do that? Why is that not working? So if you could keep your eye out. I love tech. I want to be constantly checking it, testing it. And Bez, you say you've got a bit of an idea about that, have you? You've got me excited now.
Yeah, I actually know somebody that I'm in it. I know somebody, and yeah, I need to put you in touch with him. So yeah, let's talk.
Let's look after each other. Now, what's happening here, unfortunately for me, because we're having such a good conversation, is that my signal is degrading at a very fast rate, and I keep getting knocked out. So what I might do is I might end the show naturally in a very professional way, but hang on the line if you want. We'll stop the recording and we can keep this going if you want to, but it's also a good excuse and a good reason to stop and eat or go to bed, depending on how late it is there. So I'm going to play a little sound. I'm going to do a little bit of a recap about what we talked about. We talked about so many good things today. I've got so many screenshots. Please make some content from this. And if you're listening to the replay, please come on additional shows later. Where is Keith today? And let's be excellent to each other, which is a reference to a Bill and Ted movie from 1992. I don't know if you've seen that movie, maybe my favorite movie of all time. Be excellent to each other. So I'll see you on the flip side. This is Keith Keller from Wild Stallions. Be excellent to each other.